Hello everyone. In this video, we will discuss the current market situation. I will try to answer the question of whether it is worth buying altcoins now. So let's start with Bitcoin. The previous growth still turned out to be a pump before the drain. I allowed it, but I still expected to see growth at least to the level of 28,600, where it was possible to look closely at the head chart. But in the end, this growth did not occur, and this level remains magnetic, and the price will still strive to test this particular zone. Therefore, I would be looking for a long position to come to him, but at the moment there is no good quote. Please note that we have formed a fairly clear floor of liquidity from below, which the price can collect in the near future. And of course, I would like to consider a more confident long position when removing these loyalties. But the market is quite unpredictable now, and I admit in principle that the growth may occur from current prices. If you look at the local situation, we see a good reaction after removing this loy and forming a balance here. And when choosing a test, the price can continue to move up, because from above we have a conservative zone, the resistance of which must also be tested, and it is very strong, because it is formed inside to imbalance. And this zone, in my understanding, should be tested in the near future. So now I would still be looking for a long position. At current prices, it looks quite risky, because we see working with liquidity from above and accumulating it from below. And of course, an untested problem area. Therefore, if you long, then only in this zone, with a stop behind this level. But this is a fairly aggressive stop. I would put minimal risk here, because here we have, in fact, an equal play. As I said earlier, it is better to consider a more confident position after removing these layers, or when forming a good reversal pattern. At the moment, it is not there, and it is better to just wait. If the growth occurs from the current levels, without removing these layers, without entering this zone, then it is logical to consider a short position here. And in this case, 100 should be placed for this level, that is 27,610. And if the price somehow miraculously goes higher, again on some news, then I would consider the next short from this level, that is 28,600. Well, accordingly, if the price goes down from the current marks to this zone, here I would look closely at the clone of the position. If it breaks through these lay, I would also look at the Langs and would not expect a stronger dive down from the current marks without retesting these problem zones. And here it is also important to note the semi-chart, because the last decline removed the previous lay, which was not on the usual chart. And this is also not bad from the point of view of growth. Therefore, the price chart looks good specifically, and in general, growth can occur at current levels, at least in this problem area, where the next decision will need to be made. It is also very important to note the futures chart, because on all exchanges, Bitcoin broke through the previous significant low at the level of 24,800. And this is also a good hint that this low may not be updated for a long time, and we may also see a good growth before updating it. Therefore, at the moment the plan is quite simple. It is best to wait for the arrival in the problem area. Either this is the zone on top here, or this is a mini imbalance here, or the removal of these loyalties. And only in these zones would I consider any positions. Next, let's move on to the dollar index. And here we again see a rather incomprehensible growth after a confirmed reversal. And now it looks like the dollar index wants to update this hype. Therefore, at the moment, the dollar index again does not give strong hints about growth. And it is unclear when it will turn around, because this reversal as a whole should have occurred both from this zone and approximately from the current levels. That is, we have already had two cases of a confirmed reversal on a small time frame, but it still ends with continued growth. Therefore, we continue to watch the DIX and wait for it to get a reversal, and a favorable time will come for all markets. At the moment, there is no such thing yet, and even confirmed reversals still end in growth, which is very strange. But now let's move on to altcoin, and let's try to answer the question, is it worth buying alt bitcoins, accumulating positions on them? Personally, I think so, because now all altcoins have rolled below the baseboard. That is, on the example of DOT, a coin costs for 25, the same amount it cost in the 2020th year. Of course, you can fall to zero. All this may come off, but this is a cryptocurrency. This is a high-risk market, and specifically at the current stage, I believe that the risk is definitely worth it. And I'm not even talking about some X's about the new old high right now. Personally, I am counting on a good rebound, which in my understanding will happen very soon. And let's look at the local situation, specifically on the DOT coin. Despite the fact that I expected Bitcoin to continue growing, by at least 28,600, there was a fairly obvious hint that the dot would update these equal lie, and as a result, we came to this zone, that is, we removed these levels, and we see that the price has not gone down much, that is, we have not formed any balance here. On the contrary, we have received a reaction, which suggests that there is a potential set of positions by a major player. Therefore, dot from the point of view of the medium-long-term perspective, in my understanding, looks good. Locally, there are no good clues that growth is occurring from current levels because there is no sufficiently strong reaction. There is no imbalance. Therefore, if we consider Polongi with a stop for this level, then with a small risk. And as I have already said, the market is quite unpredictable now, and in my understanding, it is best to simply gain a position on the spot. And now is the time when a banal strategy with averaging can give a good result. And the situation now is similar to the one when I bought Bitcoin every day for $500 in this zone. Despite the fact that I personally expected the decline to continue in such a channel and was still ready to buy, because I understood that growth would still happen, and there is a super magnetic zone in the region of $28,000, where I am very likely to be able to exit. That is, sooner or later, the same thing will happen to the palm trees. We can continue to decline, but the prices are already good to accumulate a position. This is my personal opinion, my actions. That is, I also buy alt Bitcoins. My positions have already been recruited. I am not considering additional purchases at the moment. And the only limit order that I have left is for the AMX coin, below the current local loyalties at this level, that is about 0.515. And specifically, WEX also at the moment does not give a hint about another small decrease. And at the same time, we still have a huge number of magnets on top, which the price will strive to test. Next, let's look at the Ether coin. Let me remind you that unlike Bitcoin, Ether has already come to this support zone, which is equivalent to Bitcoin at 22,600. Therefore, this is a small hint that growth can continue without another dump below this low. That is, for Bitcoin, it is $19,000, which I personally do not allow now. If you look at the local situation, then of course, the VLOI data is a bit annoying, and in general, everything looks like this level should be broken through. But in this case, it is not clear what will happen to the Ether next, because the support zone on the left has already been tested, and here it will be possible to start only from the fracture. That is, if there is a good reaction, we will not see a straight here, then this is also a long position. Is there a possibility of growth from the current levels? And if you look at a smaller time frame, the Ether showed a good reaction after removing this low, forming a balance here. In principle, the situation is similar as on Bitcoin, and accordingly, here, when you come to this zone, you can also try an aggressive flat position, where the minimum goals are in this problem zone. I would single out a level of $1,700. Accordingly, if the growth occurs from the current levels without entering this zone, then in this zone, you can look closely at the short positions. And as for Bitcoin, Ether also did not reach its second goal, which was at the level of $1,800. And this level is still magnetic, and the price will strive to test it. Next, let's look at the atom. And unlike DOT, the tool has not rolled so much, which suggests its strength. Regarding the DOT coin, in my understanding, in the long term, I have long allocated this goal in the region of $3.50, and it is not yet clear whether we will come here from the current marks. In general, the chart looks quite scary, because there is no good support zone here, and it is very dangerous to consider any futures positions, so it is best to simply accumulate this instrument in advance. You can even use averaging. I repeat, now in my understanding is exactly the situation when this banal strategy can show a good result. If you look at the local situation, then as I said, there is no strong support zone here, but at the same time, on a small time frame, we see good reversal information in this area, and it has already been worked out in principle. That is, after absorbing this candle, we saw a good growth, came to the magnetic zone, but left a good floor of liquidity on top. So the atom can continue to grow without updating this low, at least to this zone. In principle, the movement is not very big. I would not chase it, and it is better to just accumulate an atom on the spot. For a more confident medium-term position, there is no stage here. The chart looks very bad from the point of view of the higher time frames. Next, let's look at the slate, and in the previous video, I also admitted that there is likely to be a third fracture here. It happened, but we also don't see a strong reaction. At the same time, we accumulate good trend liquidity here. Therefore, most likely we will also see a breakdown of this level. But at the same time, we left the level at 22 and 3 on top, which was not tested, and after hearing, I would be looking for a scrap position to come to this zone. From the point of view of the higher time frames, The elephant also looks pretty good because this low was formed in a strong support zone, which I noted in my videos. From here, we got a new high, and now the current decline looks like a correction to this upward momentum. And Solana came to the support zone, to the zone of accumulation of positions, and from here, we can see quite good growth. Next, let's look at the Link coin, and here the situation is quite similar to Solana. The current decline also looks like a correction to this upward momentum. At the same time, we have accumulated trend liquidity from above, and we also have long-term semi-liquidity that has been accumulating for a very long time. Therefore, the goal above $9.50 on the Link is more relevant than ever, and I personally expect to see growth on this instrument. And this growth can happen from the current levels because we are in the medium-term support zone. But at the same time, from below, you can also note this magnetic level of $5.50 and this low, to which we got close enough, and there is a good chance that we will still shoot it. At the same time, everything already looks quite beautiful locally. That is, we see the work with liquidity from below, multiple fractures, and accumulation of trend liquidity from above. Therefore, I would also look for a lock position, at least to come to test this level, that is $6 and $9. But at the moment, there is no beautiful from the stage. That is, we see a reaction, but there is no balance for them. Therefore, it is possible that we will still see a few fractures, and it is better to wait for a better one from the stage. More locally, on a small time frame, everything looks like a decline. Then, here we see a good reversal pattern, which is also confirmed. And in principle, on a rollback, you can try a short stop for this level, but where to aim is not entirely clear yet. Probably this is this level, that is, the fracture of $5 and $7. At the end, let's look at the Aptos coin, and here, I want to note this wick, which suggests purchases and a set of positions from the point of view of a major player, because we came to the long-term support zone and removed the obvious low, and at the same time, the reaction is quite good. And locally, now we also see an outgoing channel that generates liquidity for subsequent growth. Therefore, by Aptos, I would also look for a long position. On a small time frame, we also see multiple fractures where a potentially large coffin accumulates its position. The last fracture formed a good order block, and they have a balance. The reaction seems to be quite good, but at the same time, they rolled away quite strongly, came to the base of this impulse. So in principle, you can count on the transfer of this level and look for elephant positions here. Let's also look at the volatility index, which is now coming back to the bottom values, and this suggests that this week, we may also see increased volatility, despite the fact that there is no strong trigger news. In fact, this video is coming to an end. Do not forget to subscribe to the Telegram channel. Thank you all for watching. All profit.